Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about using the wrong camera for the job. And I'm going to illustrate it using pictures like this, and this. I'm close to 1,000 subscribers now, which is like a really important milestone. So knowing that people are actually engaging with this stuff is a really good incentive to keep making it. I'm always on the lookout for side projects to keep myself professionally interested in growing, and so far YouTube's been like a really great place to discuss it. Now, one great thing about photography is its ability to open doors. Now, if you're just curious about someone's life and you start asking them questions, sometimes they can get their back up a bit, maybe become a little bit suspicious. But when you bring along a camera, not like a camera phone, but an actual proper camera, people kind of become more open to the experience for some reason. It's probably because everyone knows what a photograph is, everyone likes looking at photographs, they're easily shareable, and it means that in exchange for giving you their time, they get something that is theirs that they can keep. Which brings me to my next thing. Now, I've got a separate project cooking about a Muay Thai fighter called Becky Barlow, and there's a separate video on that which will happen another time when it's finished. To cut a long story short, that project is how I ended up at Ultimate Fight Night at the Hideout Arena in Bolton. And Bolton, if you didn't know, is a town in Greater Manchester. When you walk inside, this is what you see, and this is what Muay Thai looks like. Any sensible photographer who wanted to photograph an event like this would take a camera like this with, like a Canon R5, like a full-frame mirrorless that can shoot about 1 million pictures a second, has really responsive autofocus, and is generally a very capable camera. But what if I decided to photograph fights on a slow medium format camera with a 3 frames per second burst mode, shutter lag and no continuous focus, and also using it in manual focus mode? Why would I do that to myself? The sports camera of choice of the late 80s was the Nikon F4, which actually had a drive mode of 5.7 frames per second, so actually that camera arguably would be better for shooting fighting than the Hasselblad is. Before I show you any pictures, I will get my excuses in early and explain to you exactly how the odds were against me. So it was a dark arena, so I was shooting at ISO 3200, I was shooting at a 500th of a second, and I was shooting at the maximum aperture the 90V would allow, which is f2.5. You may already know that f2.5 on a medium format camera is a bit like f1.8 on a full frame camera. So if you're shooting a fast moving event at f1.8 in manual focus, your chances of getting a lot in focus at any particular point are quite slim. Now, one of the fights I photographed at this event while I was ringside was this kid called Indiana who is 16. I bumped into him backstage afterwards and he was looking very tired and sore. It turns out that he'd won and he smiled as I got closer. It was his 4th fight at novice level. Shooting events with manual focus feels very different to autofocus in a way that wouldn't be obvious to anyone who first picked up a camera 10 minutes ago, like me. I'm used to using cameras strictly in autofocus mode, so even if I'm shooting on servo, the camera doesn't usually take a picture until it's actually focus locked on something. Whereas if you're shooting in manual focus mode, you can press the shutter anytime you like, and whatever's in focus at the time you press it is just whatever's in focus. While manual focus objectively is worse than autofocus in this situation more or less every time, and there's no way I'd shoot this way for a client, it does give the pictures a more organic, less precise feel that I was quite surprised to find I really liked. And at times it allowed me to get pictures that wouldn't have been possible with autofocus. Now, technical perfection in pictures is something that clients should reasonably expect from a professional photographer. But when the pictures aren't technically perfect, and I would say not exactly not sharp, maybe there's a general looseness about them, they kind of express events in a different way that I actually found I quite liked. Of course, for the more still moments, the X2d has focus peaking, so you know when you're in focus, and if the subject is stood still, you can catch them easily enough. Now, backstage at the event, there was a very different scene. Fighters of different ages getting ready for their bouts. It wasn't exactly easier to land focus on my subjects there because nervous fighters tend to pace back and forth. Now, this kid Oscar caught my attention. He's really just a boy, he's 16, and it is wild to me that there's a part of the world where boys of that age will go into a ring in front of an audience and fight with fists, feet, elbows, and knees against another boy of a similar age. In these pictures, you can see him looking nervously towards the arena. You can see him psychologically prepping himself for a bout. Here's some footage of him actually fighting. And this is a picture of him backstage looking scuffed up and victorious after his fight. So would I recommend shooting manual focus on the X2d or any other camera for that matter? Sure, but only because it's fun and because the results can be interesting. but there is such a thing as the right tool for the job. If you've got a client who's paying you by the hour, be sensible, take the capable full-frame camera with you, and leave the slow, medium format one at home. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, even if you knew from the beginning what the outcome would be like. One final thing before I go, I don't claim to be an expert on anything, far from it, but I would love to do an AMA. So if you guys have got any questions that you want me to cover in a video, anything at all is fine. Come at me, let me know in the comments, and I'll put a video together trying to answer them as best I can. Catch you on the next one.